Captain Jake Morrison stared out the viewport of his ship as the massive alien station grew larger. The Zilithian Empire's trading post looked like a giant metal flower floating in space. Its golden petals opened and closed as ships flew in and out. Jake had seen it 100 times before, but it still made him feel small. "Another cargo run," muttered his co-pilot, Lieutenant Ben Parker. The young man was only 26, but already tired of these missions. 6 months of hauling their garbage across the galaxy. Jake nodded but said nothing. He had learned to keep his mouth shut around alien stations. The Zilithians had listening devices everywhere, and humans who complained too much had a way of disappearing into their prison camps. The communication screen flickered to life. A Zilithian face appeared, its blue skin gleaming under the station lights. 4 eyes blinked at Jake in sequence. "Human vessel, you are late. The Council is not pleased." "We came as fast as we could," Jake replied, keeping his voice steady. "The cargo holds are full as requested." "Good. Dock at Base 7. Unload quickly. We have real ships coming through later." The screen went dark. Ben's hands tightened on the controls. "Real ships," he repeated angrily. "As if we're not real." Jake watched the docking bay doors open like a hungry mouth. "In their eyes, we're not. We're just the cleanup crew." 2 hours later, Jake walked through the corridors of the alien station. Human workers moved boxes and containers while Zilithian guards watched them with weapons ready. The aliens were tall and thin, their forearms moving constantly as they pointed and shouted orders. Their translated words echoed through the station's speakers. "Faster, humans. The Council has more important business than watching you work." Jake found Dr. Lisa Hayes waiting by the communication center. She looked tired. Dark circles under her eyes told the story of another failed meeting with the Galactic Council. Lisa had been Earth's voice in the Council for 5 years now, and every year she looked more defeated. "How did it go?" Jake asked, though he already knew the answer from her expression. "Same as always," Lisa said quietly. "They denied our request for medical technology. Said we need to prove we can handle basic responsibilities first. Then they gave us another mining assignment." "Where this time?" "The Kepler Belt. The dangerous part near the unstable asteroids. They want rare metals for their new ship construction." Jake felt his jaw tighten. The Kepler Belt was known for its unpredictable gravity fields and radiation storms. Human miners had died there before, but the Council didn't care. They needed the metals and human lives were cheap. "What about our proposal for better shields?" Jake asked. Lisa shook her head. "They said advanced technology is for advanced species only. We're still classified as a developing world." "Developing," Jake repeated bitterly. After 50 years in their council, they walked together toward the human quarters, a small section of the station that smelled like recycled air and fear. Other humans nodded to them as they passed. Workers, diplomats, traders, all of them tired of bowing their heads to alien masters. Dr. Amy Chen was waiting in the meeting room. The physicist looked angry, which was unusual for her. Amy usually kept her emotions hidden behind scientific formulas and technical reports. "I've been analyzing their technology again," Amy said without greeting them. "Jake, Lisa, we could build better ships than theirs. Our engineering is actually superior in many ways." "But we're not allowed to," Lisa said. "The Council forbids any military development." "That's the problem," Amy continued. "They've convinced us that being peaceful means being weak. But I've been reading old files from before we joined the Council, human history files that were classified." Jake sat down heavily. "What kind of files?" Amy pulled out a data pad and placed it on the table. "Military records, from before we met the aliens." "Jake, do you know what humans used to be capable of?" "War," Jake said simply. "We fought each other for thousands of years." "Not just fought," Amy said, her eyes lighting up. "We were incredibly good at it. Tactical innovation, adaptive strategies, weapons development under pressure. We were the most successful warriors in known galactic history, and we gave it all up to join their peaceful council." Lisa looked uncomfortable. "Amy, that was the right choice. War is terrible." "I'm not saying we should start wars," Amy replied. "But look, where peace got us, we're slaves with fancy titles." Jake picked up the data pad and scrolled through the files. Images of human warships, battle strategies, weapons that made alien military equipment look like toys. "Where did you find this?" "Admiral Sam Carter showed me. He's been keeping these records hidden for decades. He says there are others in the military who remember what humans used to be." The room fell silent. Outside their small meeting room, they could hear Zilithian guards laughing at something. The sound made Jake's stomach turn. "What are you suggesting?" Lisa asked carefully. Amy leaned forward. "I'm suggesting we remember who we are, not who the council wants us to be." Before anyone could respond, the station's alarm began ringing. Emergency lights flashed red throughout the corridors. Jake stood up quickly as a Zilithian voice echoed through the speakers. "Attention all species. The council has made a decision regarding Earth. All humans report to the main assembly hall immediately. Do not keep the council waiting." Jake, Lisa, and Amy looked at each other. They had heard that tone before. It never meant good news for humanity. As they walked toward the assembly hall, Jake noticed something different about the other humans they passed. Instead of the usual defeated expressions, he saw anger in their eyes. Quiet anger that had been building for 50 years. Maybe Amy was right. Maybe it was time to remember what humans used to be. The assembly hall doors opened ahead of them like the entrance to a judgment chamber. Whatever the council had decided, Jake knew their lives were about to change forever. And deep in his heart, he hoped they were ready for what came next. The council's message was worse than Jake had expected. Standing in the packed assembly hall with 200 other humans, he listened to the Zilithian ambassador deliver their ultimatum. The alien's 4 eyes seemed to look at each human individually as it spoke. "Earth will surrender all nuclear materials within 30 days, the ambassador announced. "Your weapons will be dismantled under council supervision. This is for the safety of the galaxy." Angry murmurs rippled through the crowd. Dr. Lisa Hayes stepped forward from the diplomatic section. "Ambassador, with respect, those materials power our cities and medical facilities. Without them, millions will die." The Zilithian's skin changed, from blue to purple, a sign of annoyance. "The council has decided. Primitive species cannot be trusted with dangerous technology. You will be provided with safer alternatives." "What alternatives?" Lisa asked. "Solar collectors, wind generators, simple technologies appropriate for your development level." Jake felt his hands clench into fists. Solar collectors could not power Earth's hospitals or keep their cities warm during winter. The aliens knew this. They wanted humans to suffer, and if we refuse, Lisa asked quietly. The ambassador's 4 eyes focused on her. "Then the council will consider Earth a threat to galactic peace. Military action may be necessary." The hall fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. The council's fleets could turn Earth into ash within hours. After the meeting, Jake found himself in Admiral Sam Carter's office aboard the orbital defense station. The old man looked tired but determined. With him were Dr. Amy Chen and several officers Jake had never seen before. "That was their final move," Carter said without introduction. "They want to completely disable our ability to defend ourselves." Tall woman in military uniform stepped forward. "Captain Morrison, I'm Colonel Pete Williams, Special Forces. We've been waiting for this moment." "Waiting for what?" "For the council to show their true intentions," Williams replied. "Admiral Carter has been preparing for this day for 20 years. Carter activated a wall screen that showed a map of the solar system. Red dots marked locations throughout space around Earth, Mars, and the asteroid belt. "Hidden bases," Carter explained. "Industrial facilities that the council doesn't know about. We've been building ships and weapons in secret, using materials from mining operations they assigned us." Jake stared at the map. "How many ships?" 300 combat vessels, said a new voice. Captain Ross Turner stepped out from behind the screen. "All designed using human engineering principles, not alien technology. They're faster and more maneuverable than anything the council has." Amy pulled up technical diagrams on her datapad. "I've been reverse engineering their technology for years. Human minds think differently than theirs. We find solutions they never consider. Our ships don't just copy their designs, they improve on them. Improve how? Jake asked. Their ships are built for predictable battles between civilized species, Amy explained. Ours are built for war, real war, the kind humans used to fight. Colonel Williams activated another screen showing footage of human military training. Soldiers moved through obstacle courses, practiced boarding actions, and tested new weapons. Everything was designed around speed, aggression, and adaptability. We've been training volunteers in secret, Williams said. Combat tactics that haven't been used in 50 years. The aliens fight like it's a chess game with rules. We're going to fight like it's a street fight. Admiral Carter leaned forward. The question is, are you ready to stop being diplomats and start being soldiers again? Jake thought about the mining colony that had been destroyed last month. 3,000 humans dead, and the council had called it an unfortunate accident. He thought about the workers loading cargo under alien whips and the children on Earth, who would freeze without power. What's the plan? He asked. Turner pulled up a star chart. Intelligence gathering first. We've identified key council military installations and supply lines. If they want to threaten Earth, we need to know exactly what we're facing. I've already started, said a woman Jake hadn't noticed before. She was young, maybe 30, with sharp eyes and calloused hands. Maya Rodriguez, Engineering Corps. I've been infiltrating their communication networks for months. Maya activated her own screen showing alien message traffic. They're not expecting any resistance from us. Their military commanders think humans are cowards who will surrender rather than fight. They're about to learn otherwise, Williams said grimly. Amy stood up and walked to the center of the room. I need to show you something else. The breakthrough we've been working toward. She led them to a sealed laboratory deeper in the station. Inside, behind reinforced glass, sat a device that looked like a metal ring surrounded by control panels. Faster than light travel, Amy announced. But not using their technology. This is purely human engineering. It works on principles they never discovered because they were too focused on being safe and predictable. Jake stared at the device in amazement. Does it work? We tested it last week on an unmanned probe. It traveled to Alpha Centauri and back in 6 hours. Their fastest. Ships take 3 days. Admiral Carter placed his hand on Jake's shoulder. Captain, I'm giving you command of the First Strike Force. 12 ships, hand-picked crews, and complete freedom to engage targets as you see fit. When do we launch? As soon as they make their next move, Carter replied. And they will. The Council has already decided to make an example of Earth. Intelligence suggests they're planning to attack our mining colonies to force compliance. Colonel Williams checked his watch. Speaking of which, we should have word from the Kepler belt operation soon. As if summoned by his words, an alarm began ringing throughout the station. A communications officer burst into the laboratory. Admiral, urgent message from Mining Colony 7. They're under attack. Zilithian battlecruisers. They're not taking prisoners. The room fell silent except for the continuing alarm. Jake felt something cold settle in his stomach. Not fear, but something harder. Something that had been sleeping in humanity for 50 years. How many casualties? Carter asked quietly. Unknown, sir. The transmission cut off after they reported weapons fire on civilian shelters. Jake looked around the room at the faces of his fellow humans. Amy's jaw was set with determination. Williams was checking his weapon automatically. Maya's fingers were already moving over her computer, probably tracking the alien ships. Admiral, Jake said, surprised by how calm his voice sounded. I request permission to launch immediately. Carter nodded slowly. Permission granted, Captain. Show them what humans are capable of when we stop asking nicely. As Jake headed for the door, Amy called after him. Captain, remember what I said? About our ships being different? He turned back. They're not just faster, she said with a cold smile. They're designed to terrify anyone who faces them. The aliens are about to learn why humans were so good at war. Jake smiled back, feeling something ancient and dangerous awakening in his chest. Good. It's time they learned to fear us. Jake Morrison's hands moved over the controls of his new ship like he had been born to fly it. The vessel was nothing like the cargo haulers he had piloted for years. This ship was built for one purpose: war. Its black hull absorbed light instead of reflecting it, making it nearly invisible against the darkness of space. "Strike Force Alpha, this is command." Admiral Carter's voice crackled through the communication system. "You are cleared for Operation Payback. Show no mercy." Jake looked at the tactical display showing 12 human ships moving toward the Zilithian military base. Each ship carried weapons that had never been tested in real combat. Today would change that. "All ships, this is Morrison," Jake spoke into his headset. "Remember what they did to our people. 3,000 civilians dead because they thought we were too weak to fight back. Time to prove them wrong." Commander Kate Brooks led the fighter squadron from her ship nearby. She was 33 years old and had been training in secret for this moment her entire career. Her voice came through the radio, calm and deadly. "Fighter, squadron's ready, Captain. We've been studying their tactics for months. They fly in perfect formations and never break their patterns. That's going to get them killed today." Lieutenant Ben Parker, now serving as Jake's tactical officer, pointed at his screen. "Target acquired, sir. Zilithian battle station, just like intelligence said. 4 heavy cruisers and 12 patrol ships." Jake studied the enemy formation through his viewport. The alien ships moved in neat lines, their golden hulls gleaming in the light of the nearby star. They looked beautiful and peaceful. That was about to change. "General Alex Stone, are your Marines ready?" Jake asked over the communication channel. "Ready and waiting, Captain," came the reply from the assault ship. Stone had spent months training his soldiers for boarding actions. The aliens had no experience fighting humans in close combat. "We'll take their command ship intact if possible." Jake checked his weapon systems one final time. Everything showed green. His ship carried missiles that could punch through alien armor and energy weapons that fired faster than anything the Council had ever seen. "All ships begin attack pattern Omega," Jake ordered. "Let's show them what real predators look like." The human ships scattered in all directions, breaking formation in ways that confused the alien sensors. Zilithian military doctrine called for orderly battle lines and predictable maneuvers. The humans moved like a pack of wolves, striking from unexpected angles. Kate's fighters reached the enemy first. Her squadron dove toward the patrol ships in a chaotic swarm that made no sense to alien tactics. The Zilithians tried to form defensive positions, but the human fighters were already past them, striking at weak points in their armor. "First blood to humanity," Kate reported as a patrol ship exploded in brilliant flames. "These things can't handle random attack patterns." Jake's main force hit the battle station while the aliens were still trying to understand what was happening. Human missiles struck the station's weapon systems with surgical precision. Each shot was aimed not just to damage but to cause maximum fear and confusion. "Their shields are down," Ben reported. "Station is defenseless." But Jake had bigger plans than just destroying one base. He opened a communication channel to the Zilithian commander. "Zilithian battle station, this is Captain Morrison of the human fleet. You murdered 3,000 of our people. Surrender, now or be destroyed." The alien commander's face appeared on screen, his 4 eyes wide with shock. "Human, you cannot attack us. The Council forbids military action by primitive species." Jake smiled coldly. "The Council isn't here. We are. This is against all galactic law. You will face severe punishment." "The only ones facing punishment today are you," Jake replied. "General Stone, take the station." Stone's Marines launched from their ships in small attack pods. The aliens had never fought humans in boarding actions and had no idea what to expect. Human soldiers moved through the station corridors like deadly shadows, using tactics learned from centuries of warfare. The Zilithians tried to fight back, but their weapons were designed for ceremonial use more than actual combat. Human soldiers carried guns that fired faster, hit harder, and worked better in the tight spaces of a space station. "Station secured," Stone reported 20 minutes later. "Alien commander and senior officers captured. No human casualties." Jake felt a savage satisfaction as he watched the alien ships retreat. They were running away, abandoning their own base rather than face human warriors in battle. But this was only the beginning. Jake opened his communication system to broadcast, on all frequencies, making sure every alien in the sector could hear his message. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human fleet. Today you attacked our civilians and murdered our families. Today you learned that humans are not the weak species you thought we were. This is your only warning. Leave human space immediately or face the consequences. He switched to the command channel. Admiral Carter, first strike complete. Enemy base. Captured fleet scattered. 0 human casualties. Carter's voice came back filled with pride. Excellent work, Captain. Intelligence reports that news of your attack is spreading throughout the Council. They're calling emergency sessions. What are our orders, sir? Continue the mission. Hit their supply lines, destroy their forward bases, and make sure every alien in the galaxy knows that humanity is no longer asking for permission. Kate's voice cut into the channel. Captain, I'm picking up massive energy signatures. Looks like the main Zilithian fleet is mobilizing. Jake looked at his tactical display. 50 alien ships were moving toward human space, probably planning to crush this rebellion before it could spread. How long until they arrive? Jake asked. 6 hours at their current speed. Ben calculated. Jake smiled. 6 hours was plenty of time to prepare a welcome they would never forget. All ships, set course for the Kepler system. We're going to show them what happens when you threaten human civilians. As the human fleet moved toward their next battle, Jake thought about the 3,000 people who had died in the mining colony. Their deaths would not be forgotten. The aliens had started this war by attacking innocents. Now humanity would finish it by showing the galaxy what real warriors looked like. Ben, send a message to all human colonies on Earth, Jake ordered. Tell them the age of begging is over. Humanity is going to war, and we're going to win. The message was sent across space carrying news that would change everything. For 50 years, humans had tried to be civilized and peaceful. They had begged for scraps from alien tables and accepted insults with quiet dignity. Today, that ended. Today, humanity remembered what they were capable of when pushed too far. The aliens wanted a war with primitives. They were about to get exactly what they asked for. News of the human attack spread across the galaxy faster than the aliens had expected. In the council chambers on the planet Zentara, representatives from 12 species gathered in emergency session. The mood was no longer one of casual dismissal of humanity. For the first time in 50 years, they were afraid. The Arctilian representative, a tall being with silver skin and multiple arms, stood before the assembly. The humans destroyed an entire Zilithian battle group. 50 ships reduced to scrap metal in less than 2 hours. Murmurs of disbelief filled the chamber. The Valian ambassador, whose people had always considered themselves the finest warriors in the galaxy, shook his head. Impossible. Humans are a peaceful species. They have no military experience. Tell that to the survivors, the Arctilian replied grimly. The few Zilithian ships that escaped described tactics they had never seen before. Chaotic attack patterns, weapons that ignore their shields, and boarding parties that fight like savage beasts. On Earth, Dr. Nancy White sat in her new office at Military Intelligence Headquarters. Her job was psychological warfare, and she was very good at it. On her desk were recordings from alien communication networks, intercepted messages that showed the growing panic among Council species. Admiral Carter, she spoke into her communication device. The psychological impact is exceeding our expectations. 3 species have already withdrawn from border systems near human space. Carter's voice came back pleased. What are they saying about us? They're calling humans the terror species. Some aliens believe we've been hiding our true nature for 50 years, pretending to be weak while secretly planning galactic conquest. Nancy activated her computer screen, showing alien news broadcasts. The translated headlines were exactly what she had hoped for. Human savagery unleashed, the peaceful lie exposed, and death from Sol system. Perfect, Carter said. Keep monitoring their communications. I want to know every move they make before they make it. Meanwhile, Captain Ryan Ford commanded the battleship EDF Retribution as it patrolled the outer rim of human space. His ship was the largest vessel humanity had ever built, armed with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. Today, he was hunting Arctilian merchant ships. Captain, we have 3 cargo vessels on long-range sensors, reported his tactical officer. They're carrying supplies to Zilithian military bases. Ford studied the enemy ships through his viewer. They were massive, slow, and completely defenseless, perfect targets for his new strategy of economic warfare. Launch fighters, Ford ordered. Disable their engines but leave the crews alive. I want them to spread the word about what happens to anyone who supports our enemies. Commander Kate Brooks had been promoted to lead the elite fighter squadrons. Her pilots had become legendary throughout human space for their skill and ruthlessness. Today she led 30 fighters against the merchant vessels. Remember the plan, Kate told her pilots as they approached the alien ships. Quick strikes, maximum terror, minimal casualties. We want them afraid, not dead. The attack was over in minutes. Human fighters swarmed around the cargo ships like angry insects, their weapons precisely targeting engine systems and communication arrays. The aliens found themselves stranded in space, completely helpless. Ford opened a communication channel to the merchant captains. This is Captain Ford of the human military. Your ships carried supplies to bases that attacked our civilians. Consider this a warning. Any species that supports our enemies will face the consequences. The lead Arctilian captain's voice shook with fear. Please, we are civilians. We have families. So did the 3,000 humans your allies murdered, Ford replied coldly. You will be rescued by your own people. Make sure you tell them what happened here today. On the planet Arctilus, the merchant rescue created exactly the panic Ford had intended. Within hours, the Arctilian government was receiving demands from shipping companies to end all contracts with Zilithian military forces. Major Chris Sullivan led his marine assault teams in their most ambitious mission yet. Intelligence had located a secret Zilithian weapons facility on an asteroid in the neutral zone. The facility produced the energy shields that protected most Council military ships. Remember, we're not just capturing this base, Sullivan told his Marines as their ships approached the asteroid. We're sending a message. Humans can strike anywhere, anytime. The assault was swift and brutal. Human soldiers moved through the facility corridors like they were born for this kind of fighting. The Zilithian defenders, trained for ceremonial combat, could not match human aggression and adaptability. Base secured, Sullivan reported to Admiral Carter 20 minutes later. All shield generators destroyed. Alien technical staff captured for interrogation. But the real victory was not military. Within hours of the attack, intercepted alien communications showed that 3 more species were reconsidering their alliance with the Zilithians. The psychological impact of human military success was fracturing the Council. Dr. Amy Chen had set up a new laboratory on the captured Zilithian base from the first attack. She was reverse engineering alien technology faster than anyone had thought possible. But her real breakthrough came from studying the aliens themselves. They're terrified of us, Amy reported to Admiral Carter during their daily briefing. Not just militarily, but psychologically. They can't understand how we think. Explain, Carter said. Their species evolved on peaceful worlds with abundant resources. They've never faced extinction, never had to fight for survival. War to them is a game with rules and honor. To us, war is about winning at any cost. Amy pulled up psychological profiles of various alien species. They're calling us the unpredictable ones in their languages. They can't predict our tactics because we don't think like them. Captain Jake Morrison received his new orders while leading a patrol near the border with Valian space. His success in the first battle had made him the most feared human commander in alien space. Captain, Admiral Carter's message read, Intelligence reports that the Valians are planning to test our resolve. A small fleet is moving toward our mining operations in the Beta sector. Show them why that's a mistake. Jake smiled as he read the orders. The Valians considered themselves the greatest warriors in the galaxy. They were about to learn that. Humans had a very different definition of warfare. All ships change course for Beta sector, Jake commanded. The Valians want to see what human warriors can do. Let's give them a demonstration they'll never forget. As the human fleet moved toward their next battle, Alien news networks across the galaxy were broadcasting emergency reports. The headlines all told the same story. Humanity was no longer the weak species that begged for scraps. They had become something much more dangerous, something the galaxy had never seen before. A species that embraced war as naturally as breathing. The Council's emergency sessions were getting more desperate by the day. Some species wanted to negotiate with humanity immediately. Others demanded a massive military response to crush the human rebellion. But deep in their hearts, they all knew the same terrible truth. The galaxy had awakened something in humanity that should have been left sleeping, and now it was too late to put it back. 6 months after the first human attack, the galaxy looked completely different. President Helen Davis stood before the new Galactic Assembly on Earth, looking out at representatives from dozens of alien species. They no longer sat in positions of power above humanity. Now they sat as equals, or more accurately, as petitioners seeking human protection. The Great Chamber had been built where the old Council headquarters once stood. Human warships could be seen through the massive windows, patrolling Earth's orbit, like metal guardians. The message was clear. Humanity was in charge now. The Assembly recognizes the representative from Artilus, President Davis said calmly. Her voice carried none of the pleading tone that human diplomats had used for 50 years. Now aliens hung on every word she spoke. The Arctilian ambassador stood nervously, his silver skin pale with stress. President Davis, our merchant fleet, has suffered tremendous losses. We request safe passage agreements for our trade routes. President Davis looked at the alien with cold eyes. Safe passage through human-controlled space requires compliance with our new trade regulations. Are you prepared to accept our terms? What terms? The ambassador asked, though he already knew he had no choice but to agree. 20% of all cargo value as a security fee. All ships subject to human inspection. Any vessel carrying military supplies to former Council forces will be destroyed without warning. The Arctilian's multiple arms trembled slightly. 6 months ago, such demands would have been unthinkable. Now they were the price of survival. We accept your terms, the ambassador said quietly. Admiral Tony Mitchell watched the proceedings from the military observation deck. As the new head of galactic operations, he commanded fleets that patrolled every major trade route in known space. His job was to make sure the aliens remembered who was in charge. Admiral, his aide approached quietly. Long-range sensors are detecting unknown ships beyond the outer rim. Something new is coming. Mitchell nodded, but didn't look concerned. Whatever was out there would face the same reception as every other threat humanity had encountered. Overwhelming. Force and no mercy. Captain Lauren Bell represented humanity's new diplomatic approach. Unlike the old days when human diplomats begged for favors, she negotiated from a position of absolute strength. Today she was meeting with the former Zilithian military commanders who had attacked the mining colony. You wanted to discuss terms for your surrender, Bell said to the group of alien officers sitting across from her. They were held in a comfortable prison, but it was still a prison. The lead Zilithian, his blue skin now faded with defeat, spoke carefully. We wish to end hostilities between our species. What do you require? Bell consulted her datapad. Complete dismantlement of your military fleet. Reparations for the civilians you murdered. Your people will work in human mining operations for the next 20 years to pay off the debt. 20 years of forced labor? The alien asked in shock. You murdered 3,000 innocent people. Bell replied without emotion. 20 years is generous. The alternative is complete extinction of your species. The Zilithian commander looked at his fellow officers. They all knew Bell was not bluffing. Human military forces had proven they could destroy entire civilizations if they chose to. We accept, he said quietly. Dr. Lisa Hayes, the former diplomat who had once begged the Council for medical technology, now oversaw laboratories where alien scientists competed desperately to contribute to human research projects. The irony was not lost on her. Doctor, the Valian research team has made progress on the gravity manipulation project, her assistant reported. They're hoping this will earn them better treatment for their homeworld. Lisa nodded as she walked through the facility. Alien. Scientists who had once looked down on humanity now worked around the clock hoping to prove their value to their new human masters. She stopped at one workstation where a Valian physicist was explaining his calculations to a human engineer. The alien's hand shook slightly as he spoke, terrified of making a mistake that might anger his human supervisor. "Excellent work," Lisa told the alien. "Your contribution will be noted in your species evaluation report." The Valian's relief was visible. Species that contributed valuable research received better protection and trade agreements. Those that didn't found themselves defenseless against pirates and raiders. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the EDF Vengeance. His fleet now numbered over 1,000 ships, the largest military force in galactic history. Today they were responding to reports of unknown vessels approaching from beyond mapped space. "Captain, we're getting our first clear look at the newcomers," his tactical officer reported. "Definitely not any known species. Ship designs are completely alien." Jake studied the sensor readings. 12 massive vessels, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. They were broadcasting signals on frequencies that didn't match any known communication systems. "Admiral Carter, are you seeing this?" Jake asked over the communication channel. "We see it, Captain. Unknown fleet, possibly hostile intent. You know your orders." Jake smiled coldly. His orders were simple. Any threat to human interests was to be eliminated immediately and completely. "All ships, battle stations," Jake commanded. "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Morrison of the human fleet. Identify yourselves immediately or be destroyed." The response came in broken, translated speech. "We are the hegemony. We have come to conquer this galaxy. Surrender your worlds or face annihilation." Jake's smile widened. "Another species that thinks they can threaten humanity. This should be interesting." The alien commander continued his broadcast. "Your primitive civilizations cannot stand against our power. We have conquered 1,000 galaxies." "Captain?" his communications officer interrupted. "I'm getting reports from across the galaxy. Every alien government is sending messages to Earth, begging for protection from these newcomers." Jake looked at the tactical display showing the massive alien ships. They were impressive, but so had been the Zilithian fleet. Every species humanity had faced thought they were invincible right up until human weapons started firing. "Send a message to President Davis," Jake ordered. "Tell her the galaxy has a new threat, and every alien species is looking to humanity for protection." "What's our response to the hegemony?" his tactical officer asked. Jake activated his fleet-wide communication system. Over 1,000 human ships received his next words. "Unknown hegemony vessels. This galaxy is under human protection. Leave immediately or be destroyed. You have 60 seconds to comply." The alien response was predictable. "Impossible. No species can challenge the hegemony. Prepare for conquest." 30 seconds, Jake announced calmly. Through his viewport, he could see the massive alien ships beginning to power their weapons. They were about to learn the same lesson every other species had learned over the past 6 months. Humanity did not make empty threats. "Time's up," Jake said quietly. "All ships fire at will. Show them what happens when someone threatens our galaxy." As the human fleet opened fire, Jake thought about how much had changed. 6 months ago, humanity had been begging for scraps, from alien tables accepting insults and abuse from species that considered them inferior. Now those same aliens sent desperate messages to Earth, begging humanity to protect them from new threats. The galaxy had learned to fear humans, and now they depended on that fear to keep them safe. Jake watched the first hegemony ship explode in brilliant flames and smiled. Whatever these newcomers thought they knew about conquest, they were about to get an education in human warfare. The age of humanity had truly begun.